All right, we're gonna join with Makeshift. How are you doing, man?
Oh, I didn't know we were live. I'm over here just jamming. I'm like, yeah, what's going on?
We're bopping. It's a good
We're
time.
bopping.
Let's go.
I am doing fantastic, man. How about yourself?
Oh, rolling. And we are, and it's great. We're joined here by the king of the cheese, the TheXSSRat. How are you doing?
Hello, amazing hackers. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
Man, like the amazing hackers, that's like the phrase. It's like, yeah, here we go. I love it. Man,
sorry?
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the amazing hacker part, I really mean that to every single hacker out there, because you're lapping everybody who's sitting on the couch, and this is not an easy field to get into at all. You have to know so many basics of IT, and to get into the security field, thumbs up from me, guys. That's amazing.
No, yeah, 100%. And that's like, you're so right. The depth of knowledge really is definitely pretty large. So we actually talked a little bit back in March, but since then, for those that, may not have been following along, how have you been doing since then? What is new with the Rat Pack, and what's new coming up?
Well, it's first of all, my mind is blown that 42,000 in the meantime hackers are following me on Twitter. I'm like, where are these guys coming from? Or they're like, I'm imagining this mass migration of crabs on the beach. It's like all of these little crabs come out. It's like insane. That's first of all, and second of all, 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's also a major milestone of mine. Like, on my way to 20,000. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I've been working very hard, and we talked about this before the show a little bit as well. My work ethic basically consists of me doing my 8-hour day job. Then I play with my kid, and then it's like 7 p.m. when she goes to bed. And then I start working on my own company, and it's until late because it's already 1 a.m. here. And I'm gonna go on till 3 a.m. and then I'll wake up at like sometimes 6, 7 a.m. But it's like, don't do that shit to yourself. Sorry, I promise I would not swear, and I start swearing the first few minutes of our life.
No, it's all good.
You really shouldn't be doing that to yourself. Sleep is very important. But as you guys know, I have a pain condition, fibromyalgia, and it's messing up with my sleep. I just don't close an eye, so it's better for me to work. It takes my mind off things. It really helps as well, because I want to make my first mission in this world is to make it more secure for my little girl. She's growing up real fast, and the way she says "Papa," it's like my heart melts whenever I hear it, and that's what I want to fight for, And training this generation of amazing hackers is a privilege, and I want to just put it out here as well. If any of you guys have any problems getting my courses, just mail me, guys. info@TheXSSRat.com. You'd be amazed at what you can achieve by just asking things. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been building courses. I've been building an ethical hacking guide, which I've been working on for a couple of months together with Sharonan and Anik. Sharonan is doing a lot of the work. I'm pulling in my weight. Everybody's and it's just great to have this mass of knowledge gathered together, and hopefully we can add some more soon, because I'm meeting with people. I can't say too much yet, but I'm hoping to add their knowledge to the course well to make it much more complete. I'm talking about CCNA people, people who have written books. That was my dream all along. When I first wanted to make a bug bounty guide, I wanted to make it with every major hunter out there. And I wanted to make it like one complete bug bounty guide that everybody could get, and they would have a lot of starting methodologies to go based upon, and a lot of routes to take as well. Because I think everybody should learn in their own way. Everybody has their own way of learning, and that's important. So yeah, I've been busy. Sorry, I rambled on a bit there.
No,
Nice,
yeah. I
very
mean,
good.
it sounds like you've been just absolutely crushing it. But that is like the to-do list is pretty incredible there. Like, how do you balance it all? You know, do you use any? Is there like an app? Like, I feel like Trello has helped me kind of intermittently. But you know, how do you balance kind of all the things that you're trying to work on and meet all the deadlines that you have there?
Well, it's basically just a book that I have. I'll get it real quick. Give me a sec. Sorry about that.
Filler.
So, what's your favorite kind of cheese?
Yeah, so I had to take a bite of cheese. No, I'm not addicted, I promise. So this is my way of keeping track of things. It's written full of stuff. These are the bug bounty live classes, XSS live classes, burp suite live classes, and it's just like a major to-do list. Every single bit of research is in there. And I translate it into articles in the computer because I think that it's a lot faster to work on paper first and then to finalize my ideas into a better form later on. So that's how I balance all of that stuff. But I am a very forgetful rat, so I forget a lot of things. Excuse me if I ever forget something, just keep on poking at me. It's going to be okay, I promise.
I was gonna say, I think we just talked about this, like, I mean, obviously you're referring to, just any number of things, but I know even just in the last episode, we were talking about, not being expected to remember everything. So, like if somebody happens to ask you something and you happen to forget about it, I mean, I think I personally respect the fact of, just telling people, hey, like if I do forget something, don't hesitate to, reach back out to me and let me know, because I think we're all capable of forgetting stuff from time to time. So
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I'm extremely confused. Like I have to write down what I did today because I will forget it tomorrow. And it's like it helps to write things down, at least for me. I have this little book on me as well. I don't have it on me right now, it's in my coat, but it's like a little booklet that I can take everywhere. And if I have to write something down, I will write it down because I found that the process of taking out my phone and opening my notes app takes time. And all of that time, it annoys me. After a while, it just annoys me just taking out my phone, unlocking it. Even that process is too much for me. If I can open a little booklet and write it down, and then later I can put it in my agenda when I'm calmed down and when I'm not in the rush of doing my laundry or whatever, It's, Alpha Cybersecurity says he has 4 whiteboards and several notebooks. That's something that I want to get as well. Some whiteboards, those are really useful to put ideas onto, but I think I don't have room in my small apartment, so I guess this is my whiteboard for now, and it works pretty well, but it's getting pretty full, so I need a new book.
Yeah, I love the idea of having a whiteboard. But yeah, same thing. Like, I just need more room. Like, you're pretty much looking at the entirety of this room that I'm in right now. So, that's just one of those things. We got Rahul joining in at 5:30 a.m.
Yo, Rahul, my
That is
friend.
so early.
man,
That guy is amazing. He's a good bug bounty hunter as well, and a good friend of mine. So
Yeah,
great to have him here.
he's crushing it. He's, I'm seeing him on Twitter all over the place. He's killing it.
Definitely, and he's also helping other people, which is something that I try to put in my courses as well. And this is something I can't put too much out either. But soon, if you want, there is a possibility to get something more out of my courses, and it's not going to cost anything more. It's going to be included in the ethical hacking guide, but it's going to be an 8-hour ethics interrogation. You're going to get interrogated by several people about your ethics, and if you want to be ethical, you're going to have to prove it. And I think it's important that I don't want to gatekeep. That's something I definitely don't want to do. But I think the line between what we're doing for the good of people and what we're doing for the bad of people can be blurry. It's something I've been always a little bit iffy about. Like, I'm teaching cybersecurity, but I'm teaching it to anybody who wants it right now. And it's scary to me because, sorry, go ahead, Caleb.
Oh no, I mean, I completely agree. And like, that was actually like one of my first videos that I made for this channel was on ethics. Like, I could not agree more with everything that you're saying. And like with bug bounty hunting, I feel like that's got to be even more. Well, it's important in all disciplines, but I feel like it can be more complicated, I guess, with bug bounty hunting, where you're literally you're getting paid to perform offensive security on an organization, and I've seen cases where some people will just kind of like do it on their own, and then like in the back end claim that it was bug bounty hunting, but it's like, no, that was just illegal. Like, there was no contract. That was just a crime that was committed. What are your thoughts on that? And like, how, I know that I want to get, you mentioned that there's not too much you can say on it, but how can you kind of verify ethics in the bug bounty hunting space?
Well, the most important thing for me is the client hunter relationship is sacred. When the moment you attack your target, you enter into an unwritten contract that basically says that you will do anything to protect your target. You're not a bug bounty hunter to attack it. You're there to protect it. And that's something that a lot of people get wrong, because if they don't get the bounty that they want, they will go onto Twitter and they will publicly disclose bugs and blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's such a bad ethics. That's such a bad morale. Like, you want to protect the company and suddenly you're screaming out that they're not paying you enough and blah, blah, blah. Bug bounties is not about the money. I'm sorry, but it's just not. And it's a good way to get people into bug bounties. But it's like when I was going to do chemistry in my high school, the 5th and the 6th year, the last 2 years, they lured us in with cool tricks like the elephant toothpaste. You guys all saw that probably, like the big foam that comes out of like a beaker when you put two ingredients together. They lured us in with these cool tricks, and I think it's the same with bug bounties as well. You hear these, oh, I got 10,000 euros, oh, I got 15,000 euros. It's good to lure people in, but if you're a real bug bounty hunter in your core, you're doing it to, one, protect your targets, and two, to actually get a chance to test your skills against a real target. That's not nothing. It's people these days act like it's nothing. But if you did that 10 years ago, good luck in penitentiary.
Yeah. Make sure on the defensive side. I mean, same thing. How important is it to maintain ethics? On the defensive side.
Oh, I mean, it's you definitely have to. I mean, I could go on Twitter and start disclosing all of, stuff that my company's working on right now, or disclosing, oh, this is the version of this that we're running. And, I have access to all these IP addresses. Oh, here you go. It's like, you can't be doing that. It's like there's
the term for that is insider threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely I'm all about the learning and protecting and not
and
not doing anything illegal.
The line can be thin there as well, I think, because what if you have somebody inside of the company who's extremely proud of the next version that they're going to release? It's not some kind of big company that business information would get leaked from if they say that they're going to release a new version, because they work in Agile anyway. New version going to get released every 2 weeks, but they say they're particularly proud of it. Well, as an ethical hacker, I would be inclined to look into that, because if somebody's proud of their work, they're going to have to put a lot of work into there. That means some major features coming up. I'm going to prepare a little bit, and I think it can be very scary because we allow anybody into companies these days. The companies I've been into, it's insane. I've worked in public companies and they never knew I was a hacker if I wouldn't have told them. And even if it's not from me, I saw it today. Even we have to badge in to get into work, and I saw somebody letting in somebody else whose badge wasn't working properly. I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to ask you to properly badge and to verify that you're actually out to be here. It's not my job, but I still feel like it is my job to a degree. And I think it's everybody's job. And like you say, it's insider threat. But I also think we should have insider security from the bottom up. Everybody thinks of it from top down, but I think it starts from the bottom up, and that's where the most important parts are. But if you look at the amount of physical pen testing going on versus the amount of web app network hacking, physical pen testing is almost never requested. Whereas I think it's a big problem still.
They're too scared.
Yeah.
They're scared about failing and realizing what the implication of that is.
Definitely.
And I have to say, oh, go ahead.
No, definitely. I was going to agree with you. Cybersecurity definitely is everybody's job.
Yeah, when you said you're like, I had to say something, you didn't necessarily feel like it was your job, but at the same time, you felt like it was. That is one of the biggest things that I tried to get across to people, even when I was in help desk. And I'll tell a real quick story here. So when I was in help desk, and I may have told a couple other people this before, but whatever. We never did any sort of, or we did like one time a phishing campaign. And so, I mean, but this was like years ago, like say it was like 2 years before we had done the last one. Well, we had hired a bunch of people since then, and we give everybody email. And I was just like, I talked to my boss. I was like, hey, are we going to ever run another one of these campaigns? Like we're bringing all these people in and we're giving them email, and they have no sort of training that covers the phishing emails. And he goes, well, do you go to the company's homepage? And I go, yeah, all the time. And he goes, well, there's a PDF there. And I was like, okay. So I went back to my desk and I went and looked at the PDF, and it had some stuff regarding cybersecurity, but there was nothing phishing. And there were times I went out onto the floor multiple times because I like dealing with people face to face. And I would talk to them. I'm like, hey, do you ever, have you ever gone to the homepage for our company and looked at the cybersecurity PDF that's out there? And they'd go, no. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, because it doesn't pertain to me. You work at a company that deals with medical stuff all the time, where you have access to social security numbers, medical billing numbers, all sorts of PHI and PII. And you mean to tell me that you don't think knowing even the slightest bit of cybersecurity and cyber awareness is your job? I'm sorry, but that's false. It is everybody's job. I don't give a crap where you're at in the company. I don't give a crap if you're in sales.
Yeah.
You still have some sort of access to certain things. Cybersecurity is still part of your job, even though you don't bear a title and you're not technically in InfoSec or cyber, whatever. It is still your responsibility.
I wonder how much of it has to do with, and obviously in this kind of context, I'm referring to like the non-security people because it's like our full-time job, so it's not an abstract threat. But I wonder if a lot of it has to do with like people thinking that it's more abstract than it really is. Like it's not like, yeah, the threat's there, but it's like no one's going to target us. So it's like yeah, we might have insider threats and people, piggybacking, but it's not going to be this person. This person's fine. Like, I can trust them. And it's, it's an abstract concept in their minds. Like, I'm wondering if it's some of that or if maybe, it's just poor training or a combination.
I think it's poor training. I think it really is, because I think a lot of companies, including the one that I came from, and I'm sure, Rat can attest to this in certain aspects too. When you bring somebody in, when you bring a new employee in, you're solely focused on bringing them up to speed for that particular role and position that you hired them for. So anything that doesn't in a manager of that particular department's mind and eyes, they don't view that as being, cybersecurity. Obviously, they're like, okay, well, HIPAA, or whatever, make sure you lock your computer when you walk away from it. But there's a whole other slew of things that it's like you don't touch. And it's like, you need to.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm always like, I heard a couple of really interesting points I wanted to touch on. First of all, really interesting about the trainings part, because of course trainings cost a lot of money. You're going to have to put your employees in a room for a couple of hours. You're going to have to train them. Bosses see that as an expense. And it all comes down to partially lack of documentation, which is in every company the exact same thing. And it's not just cybersecurity related. It's like there's just no documentation anymore. It's like people are like, oh, you're just gonna have to talk to people to find out what you have to do. But that's not my style. And second of all, it also comes down to Confluence or any documentation or any wiki place. People just put passwords on there like it's nothing. And for an ethical hacker, that's candy, of course. That's something that's those trainings. I think we have to trust our employees when we onboard them, but we should also verify. And all of these tools where you send these phishing emails, they're expensive. I get it. But if you hire somebody, if you have one of your employees just spend a couple of hours on doing that, you can build a very own system with some extremely detailed reports. All of these different frameworks and tools out there can accomplish this stuff. And if I put together a Python script right now, I can put it together in an hour where I send you an email with a link on it. And if you click on it, you see you're trapped or something like that. Oh, that's all you need, and maybe some reporting behind that. I think it's very important to always verify that you actually have what it takes, not just when it comes to emails, but I think that there should be at least, like, what's really wrong is that there's no security ambassadors anymore like there used to be. You used to have these people in every team going like, hey, what the heck are you doing? You're putting a password in a repository that's supposed to be in the environment files or whatever. um, it's these kind of things that, if you feel inclined to be a security ambassador, somebody who promotes security within your company, you don't have to bring it big immediately. You can start very small. So you can say, I'm only going to try to influence my team a little bit today. And I'm not going to do it in a way where I'm going to sound accusive of them. I'm going to put it in a way where I can be helpful to them. Like, hey, guys, I see that this mistake happens a lot, like the passwords in the repository example. I see that this happens a lot. Can I help you guys? Can we put this into, I don't know, KeyPass? Can we put this into Bastion? I don't care, somewhere, but not freaking Confluence. And don't put it that aggressive, because I found that the best way to get people to do things that you want is to gain their respect, and to actually show them that you're worth trusting in your decisions. Because if you come marching down there like, hey, this is not right, you should change this immediately, they're not going to take you seriously, and it's actually going to create the opposite effect for you. um, and another thing I heard about in there is that people, like, if I think about it, I am not aware about security that much in my environment because I'm overloaded with work as is, and I'm not going to be able to take on anything else. And I notice it because I'm a QA engineer and I'm a pen tester, and I know that my team is very mature and they will notice it. They will put it down the moment it strikes the repository, but still, there are teams that are not like that, and they are overworked. They onboard a new recruit, and what do? They open up the entire KeyPass repository for that new recruit because it's just simpler. I got admin rights on one of the tools that we had today, and while that's not a bad thing, I can seriously mess up production for a TV station. All I have to do is Control A delete, bam. Well, that's not good. That's not supposed to happen. I am working there for 3 months. I should get maybe a guest account that maybe has upload rights, which I should be testing, but not some admin account. And security in companies, I think it's important to get it right, but I also think that, of course, we have to take into account that companies don't have infinite budgets either. But companies don't budget anything for security. That's what they go wrong. They just don't do anything. It's like, hey, did you guys even realize it? If you are in a cybersecurity attack, a real one, that you're paying at least 10 times what I'm asking you to budget in right now? And they're like, nah, not gonna happen, bro. We're not gonna get attacked. We're just a small company. Yeah, I got news for you, bro. I've worked for small companies that got attacked constantly, because once you're on the radar of these unethical hackers, they just want to take over your data. Your computer has a botnet. They want you, and they're coming for you. So you better be prepared. And I've had that before. My career started out building websites, and we've had these group of hackers coming after us because we had a giant list of email addresses, like 7 million valid email addresses. They're all subscribed to us. That is like a gold mine to these people, because I don't know if you guys know anything about the black market, but I think like 1 million email addresses go for like $200 or something like that. If they're not validated, that's not validated. So there's a lot of false positives in there. A validated list, yeah, you can imagine how strong that is. So ethical hackers, they don't really care that much about the loot that you think you have. Ethical hackers know what loot you have, and they're coming for it. Sorry, I keep saying ethical hackers. I mean unethical hackers, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll circle back to the ethics conversation, and I'm just messing with you. No, but yeah, I mean, and I feel like the security ambassadors, that's a concept that and I feel like I need to make a video on this, because this is very interesting to me. It's a theme that's been kind of recurring on this show. We've talked about it in previous weeks with others as well. And I feel like that is a way to implement that bottom-up security structure that you were talking about earlier, where instead of top-down, it's, you have kind of, folks that are spread around the org in the different teams that are kind of, doing that quality assurance for security purposes, right? The security quality assurance, right? But that's going to cost a lot of money. And that's kind of exactly what you were talking about. Companies, they don't have infinite resources, and they're already not going to budget so much for security unless they have to, because it's not going to return them anything. And so, to a business leader, this might, just sound like we're asking the world of them. We're asking them to not only fund, a SOC and all this stuff that you need to do on the blue team side, but now you need to fund a whole security ambassador program. That being said, and get those folks trained up. But that being said, how feasible is it to actually accomplish that without it actually, skyrocketing security prices? Is that actually like, a huge ask budget wise, or, is it a bit more affordable than people might think?
For me, I think a lot of these people are already training themselves in their free time. And that's what business leaders are forgetting these days, is that you have people who are very passionate about some things. And if you give them an incentive, they will take it with both hands. And you can say, hey, you're in a special group now. You get a little promotion for your extra work. You can put in extra hours that you can take back. It can be an electric bike at the end of the year, so you don't have to pay taxes on it. It doesn't have to be something major, and it's going to save you so much money in the long run. And I think that the security ambassadors can even work without an incentive sometimes if you set it up correctly and if you make their voices heard, because that's often just what people want, is to be heard and to be respected. And that's something, if you put them in a security commission and you tell them that they're responsible for the security of the entire company, how do you think that's going to make them feel, right?
Yeah, for sure. Make, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally just gonna completely agree with what Rat said. I mean, just making people heard, bringing their voices up to the surface, because I think you know, a lot of people have some really good ideas, but they just don't voice them.
Yeah. There's a question here in the chat from Dorian that I think is kind of interesting that I want to talk about. Do you think security budgets are vastly different between companies held accountable through compliance?
I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is, but I think that it definitely is, but I think compliance is a very bad thing, because then you're going to live towards your compliance, not towards the security and the best interest of your company. And
yeah, like all you're doing is checking boxes. You're not, you know, actually making sure that your company is technically secure in other aspects. You're just like, oh, we have to do this, so we better go and do it. Check this box, you know.
Yeah,
but that's not to say that I mean, is all just a bad thing. Like, I mean, you know, it's forcing you to do, you know, some security steps, but I definitely think that it can very quickly and easily, you know, take up, I guess, the wrong headspace where you're no longer doing it for the security, you're doing it to be compliant and to kind of pass the audit.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what I was getting to, is like you're doing the bare minimum to make sure that you're hitting these boxes and you're not doing anything more, because for a company, you know, that's just more money. And if you don't get any ROI or return on investment, you're technically in a C-level executive's eyes, you're losing money, and they're not about that. So
yeah.
what I think is also that companies should be budgeting a lot more for bug bounties than for compliance, because pen testers are good, but bug bounty hunters will go to the extreme to find the bugs. And I'm also a pen tester, but I do my pen tests very differently. I have one 8-hour package where I go completely just time boxed into the things that I find important. And that's my best pen tests, because there I find some really critical issues, like cookies that I can steal through cross-site scripting for an account takeover. And those things get you the customers, which will take the 5-day package and the 2-week package. But I time box it, and I don't say I'm going to comply. I'm going to comply to the OWASP top 10 to a degree. I always say to a degree, because you can't fully comply to anything. It's like you can't have any IDORs, impossible. And then you just don't have any objects. Gone are your IDORs.
Shut the computers down. Let's just
Yes.
not have any vulnerabilities.
Gone with the vulnerabilities. Back to paper and pen. Yay!
So quick question for you, Rat. So say you're somebody like me who works in a fairly big company, but your company doesn't partake in a bug bounty program. How would somebody that would be, maybe on like a security team or your IT team, how would you go about recommending or talking to your, C-level executives, or even just your managers, to maybe start kind of sending those messages up the chain on like, hey, this might be something that, if we're really focused on security, something that we might want to start gravitating towards?
Well, that's a great question. I love that one. When it comes to integrity, for example, first of all, contact integrity. They're going to help you out there, and they're going to provide you with packages that you can use to present to your superiors if they have the time for it, of course. But for me, it all starts with a simple demonstration, in a sense that bug bounties, and usually these programs as well, these platforms as well, they usually say that you don't have to have a very good budget for a bug bounty program. That's a reasoning that's often brought up, because, of course, when an ethical hacker attacks you, you're going to have 100 times the budget to fix that stuff. But that argument is good. But the vulnerability disclosure program argument is also a great one, where you say, hey, guys, it doesn't have to cost us much, just a little cut to the bug bounty platform, and that's it. And even if they don't agree to that, first of all, sorry, I should have started with this, baby steps. ask them to make a security.txt file. Just security.txt, say put in your contact info for if you have any issues, and bam, you have a bug bounty program. Next, make sure that Google indexes it, that it's not gone from robot.txt or something like that. And there's your bug bounty program already, and that's a start. And then what I do, and I don't know, I asked my boss, he said it was okay, is I ask my other hacking friends to hack on my company, because I can't hack on my company. I work there, I have insider information, but my friends can hack there. That's not a problem, as long as I don't tell them anything about the company itself. So that's how I get them to coerce a little bit as well. Because it's like, hey, look what's being found, all of these issues. Maybe we should up the ante a little bit. But it all starts with baby steps and getting them to admit that pen testers are limited, are time boxed, and usually have to comply to some sort of methodology. And it's important to also really explain to your boss, hey, if you want to get into bug bounties, you're going to have a couple of parties involved. You're going to have you're going to have your bug bounty program, the middleman. Then you're going to have your hunter. And your hunter is very different from a pen tester in that your hunter doesn't follow a methodology. You know, I wouldn't recommend talking to my boss like this, but I would say something in the lines of, you know, that we've ran all vulnerability scanners that we have. We've run pen tests on everything that we have. Why not just open up a free security.txt file and just open it up for everybody, and then money can come later. But make sure that you make them understand that a pen tester and a bug bounty hunter are two completely different entities that are very separate from each other, and also make sure that they understand that they have a party that can guide them in the whole process, that they don't have to do this alone. Like Integrity, they will happily guide anybody who wants to come onto their bug bounty platform. Sorry, a little bit of Integrity advertisement there.
No, that's great. I mean, I think that's all such good stuff. And I think one of the other things that, you know, I kind of want to ping off of, you know, you mentioned baby steps and, you know, companies getting into bug bounty hunting. What about for people getting, and I mentioned baby steps because I feel like that's probably going to play into the answer a little bit. But, you know, we have a question from Parker Dot. And actually, if you're watching this and you haven't watched our interview with Parker from last week, absolutely check that out. It's in the InfoSec, or no, it's in the Cyber Monday Show playlist on the YouTube channel. But he asked, what advice do you have for someone trying to get started with bug bounty hunting or who doesn't know where to start?
Also a great question. You guys are full of inspiration today. I love it. So my advice for somebody trying to get into bug bounties is that you have to change your mindset. Start watching details. If you are hacking on one of my labs, for example, some of my labs are not going to be vulnerable at all. Just going to say it straight, and I'm not going to tell you which ones they are, because it's up to you to find that out. I want you to be a bug bounty hunter. I don't want you to be an ethical hacker. I don't want you to hold your hand. You're going to have to watch the details. And it's important to pick your program like you would pick your date. Pick it very carefully, treat it with respect, buy it a nice dinner, and then make sure that you're fit for each other, because it's really important. You're going to spend a lot of time with each other. If you are really into a target, you can spend months or even years chasing it. And I'm not just talking about the target, I'm talking about the employees that we talked about on social media that can leak things inadvertently. They can take a freaking picture and they have post-it notes in the picture, and it's like, oh, company secrets, thank you very much. And it's like, that I don't know why I said that anymore. Sorry, went off on a side trail there. But it's also very important that you really understand. All right, picking your program, very important. Don't pick a program with extremely high payouts, like $15,000 max payout, like do a 180 and walk away because you know that's going to be secure. Come back to it later. I'm not saying completely scrap it, because that's not good. You shouldn't scrap anything. So take out the vulnerability disclosure programs if you're really getting started, because that's going to give you some, it's not going to give you some money, but it's going to give you points, which will give you free invites. Those invites are going to make sure that you have less hackers as competition. Also, pick your bug bounty platform carefully. My first bug bounty platform was HackerOne, and I don't want to throw out any hate against HackerOne because it was completely my own fault. But I reported 5 issues, and they were bollocks. They were definitely not good if I look back at them. But the problem is that I had negative karma and I couldn't report anymore. And I actually found a valid cross-site scripting at that moment, but I couldn't report it for 30 days. So moved over to Integrity, everything fine there. Great folks. They're going to invite you to their Slack channel if you're a bit of a hunter. You're going to have some fun. You can directly talk to the triagers if you have any questions. So that's definitely a recommendation for me, is to go to Integrity, but up to you. You don't have to pick a bug bounty platform. You can go to anything like Google Dorking. You can go to firebounty.com, which has a list of all of the bug bounty programs that are out there. There's many different possibilities. And if you want to get into bug bounties when it comes to issue types, you really have to make sure that you have a basic understanding of all of the issue types, and that you are going in with the mindset that I'm going to learn about all of the issue types as I go along, because you're never going to be done learning. Every single corner you're going to turn, there's going to be a new thing, and it's freaking frightening. Don't get me wrong, because learning new things, putting yourself into the unknown, is scary. We all know that the unknown is scary. That's what learning is the unknown, getting to know that. And the fact that you can put yourself over that, if you make that step, you can see that it's not as scary as you first expected, but it looks scary from the outside. So put yourself over that fear of going into bug bounties as well. It looks very scary from the outside to go into bug bounties, real targets, hacking. All of the top hackers are going to compete with me. No, don't get that fairy tale into your head. You're gonna have to look beyond the normal scope of a pen tester a little bit. You're going to either have to find hidden parameters, or you're going to have to use your issue types in a creative way. I once found a cross-site scripting, had to fight 2 WAFs for 2 days just to get that through. And then it turned out to be self-cross-site scripting. But I found a CSRF token, and it was completely vulnerable, didn't check CSRF token, so that self cross-site scripting turned into a cross-site scripting by CSRF. Completely ignored my comments, completely ignored anything after that, didn't respond anymore. Of course, I'm still a little bit salty about that, but let's not go too deep into that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, if you really want to get into bug bounties, is that you're gonna have to give a lot of yourself. When I first started out, it's a little story time. When I first started out, I wanted to become a pen tester. Nobody wanted me because I didn't have any experience. So I went for my OSCP, got that first try. People still didn't want me because I didn't have any experience. I was like, let me go do bug bounties. Got like 35 bugs in 2 months. But people think that's like 2-3 hours of hunting. No, that's 8 hours of hunting a day, every single day. Weekend, 10, 12, 14 hours of hunting. I was freaking obsessed with it. And then I got what I wanted. People were offering me pen test jobs, but I didn't want them anymore. I wanted to start my own company by then and just do whatever I wanted to. And that's sort of what this turned into. And also my bug bounty journey right now. I don't do a lot of bug bounties myself anymore, but I still coach a lot of people. And everybody makes the same mistake of going for broad scope targets first. That's a terrible idea, because if you're going to do broad scope, you need to learn how to identify issues first. And you can't learn how to identify an issue on a broad scope target. It's madness. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the needle is 10 times smaller and the haystack is 100 times bigger. That's what bug bounties in broad scope is like. So you have to be able to do pretty well there. That's a lot of things into one. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a ramble there.
No, I love it. And I mean, that's a lot of really just excellent stuff. One of the things you talked about was kind of how scary it can be diving into an actual bug bounty engagement, for the first time or first few times, being that it's a real target, it's a real environment. At what point, or have you yet, gotten to a point where that's not as scary anymore, where you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's real stuff. But you're more comfortable. You're not necessarily concerned with the fact that you're dealing with live rounds.
Yeah, exactly. Because first of all, you have to know this, you're entering into a safe haven contract. Well, it's not really a contract, but the companies in the bug bounty programs, they are usually offering safe haven parlors, which means that if you do something wrong unintentionally, they will waiver the right to sue you. I don't think it's legally binding. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it is on the bug bounty platforms, and you can have a look at it. So make sure you have a look at that for yourself. And also, it's getting real as in you're facing other hackers, but let's get real. You're going to face other hackers anyway, whether it be in pen testing, because you're going to have to prove that you're good enough for a pen test between other hackers. They don't want, this is the harsh reality that I live in. They don't want the bottom line pen testers. They're gone within a year and they're replaced. And it's always the bottom line. If you were first line last year, if you were the top of the line and your bottom line this year, you're going to go. It's as simple as that. And you're always going to compete with that. You're going to compete with CTFs. You're going to compete with yourself solving challenges. And if you're not in it for the competition with any of those, then what are you into ethical hacking for? Okay, you're going to be in it for securing your target, but to secure your target properly, who are you in a competition with? You wear a white hat. The other ones. So.
Yeah, and this is another question from Parker about the low barrier of entry, and this kind of ties back to our previous thread on companies considering opening up a bug bounty program. And, and I had this thought while we were talking, is it's like, someone that may not be quite as familiar with kind of how it all works, it might sound like it's really just opening the floodgates to like a horde of mostly not valid or like information or like low level alerts, but it's, you might get a few like really good bug bounty hunters that have like legit disclosures for you. But like, why not just have like your own internal, like, if you have like an internal pen testing team, why not have them kind of balance some bug bounty hunting and some pen tests as part of their, day to day.
Yeah, like a few points I wanted to touch on. First of all, before I forget, pen testers can also be time boxed and say you have 8 hours to do whatever the heck you want, and that's something that should be done more often, I think. When it comes to the low barrier of entry to bug bounties, that's what the bug bounty platforms are for. They have professional triagers who will take care of all of those issues, and they will only allow real issues to go through. That's what I mean with you can go talk to the triagers. If you report an issue but it has no impact, it's not even an issue at all. Companies really don't have unlimited budgets, so that's something that you need to keep in mind. And also, do you think that there are any issues that can turn companies off of the idea? Definitely. That's something that I think is the company's biggest fear. But I think we all know, and it's been proven throughout time, that security through obscurity does not work. It's simple as that. If you want to hide, then you have something to hide, and you should probably fix it. I hope that answers your question, my friend.
Yeah, that's tough. We got another question on bug bounty programs that beginners should follow. Obviously, this is a great time to talk about, the learning pipelines that you've developed, the courses that you've created. some absolutely excellent stuff. If you were to break into, okay, this is going to be kind of some weird timeline of you time traveling back and breaking into bug bounty hunting, but the courses that you created are also already out there. So it's like, let's just theorize for a second. What are some courses that you would absolutely check out if you were trying to break into bug bounty hunting?
Well, definitely for the courses, when it comes to courses for bug bounty hunting, you have a few types of people. You have people like me who will aggregate the information themselves and who will spend the time with it and who will actually enjoy putting the puzzle pieces together. And you have people who don't want to spend the time, but they want to spend the money. And that's also time in a way, spending time. But for me, I think bug bounty programs to start out with business to business functionality over everything. That's very important to me. And I would go with things like Nahamsek's course. He learns the basics very well. He has labs as well. And then for bug bounties, just make sure that you know pen testing very well and go further into that. I would look into that and buy myself a course like that. Make sure that I always say if you buy a course, make sure that it has at least some kind of form of knowledge retention in it, a quiz, a lab, an assignment, anything that you can do. Because if you just read something, you're not going to retain that information. And if you want to get into bug bounties, like I said, B2B is very has my I like those. No newspapers, avoid newspapers because they have very limited functionality. You're gonna find nothing on it. Avoid web shops because you're gonna have to spend money on them if you really want to test all of the functionality, invoices, return invoices, credit notes, debit notes, all that stuff. That's important. Also, not paid out programs, definitely not recommend them, but don't be like me because I definitely went for the paid programs first. I was like, not gonna waste my time on VDP. Yeah, I'm a cocky asshole, I know. Sorry about that. But it worked out for me. Do as I say, not as I do. That's something I would recommend. And like I say, take a bug bounty program that offers you some accounts. Like say you can create your own accounts, you get some accounts, definitely preferably of different privilege levels, so you can have different user groups as well in there, admin, normal user, HR user. And that will open up a whole new world of testing and functional testing for you. I think a lot of bug bounty hunters are very focused on the technical aspect while running their tools. While they run their tools, I read the manual, and in there I find stupid stuff like you cannot disable the super admin users. I disabled the super admin users, and it's the easiest 125 euros I ever got. So it's not like it's new programs either. I don't recommend you going for very new programs because you're gonna have a lot of hackers picking up the very low hanging fruit. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you wait until a program has been out for a while, it's gonna have gone through a few releases of software, and the hackers have already picked through the previous releases. Then it's up to you. So these are some of my tips. Pick a bug bounty program which has documentation, which has an API preferably, because you can mess with the API a lot more than you can do with the web interface. So it's all of these small details which make bug bounties very intricate for me. And that's why I know I'm kind of touting up my own horn here, but I would recommend my own course because that's where I go into all of this stuff like, hey, you need to pick this type of program, you need to pick this type of bug bounty platform. So I would definitely go for my own one, the Hamsek's course. And right now the Burp Suite certification is coming out as well. I think that's always good. It was like €8 recently at a sale. I got it, so I'm going to try to get it next weekend, I think. That's when I'll have some time. But I think bug bounties can't be described as easily as pen testing either.
Yeah, that's all just so excellent. You really dive into a lot of like the technical stuff there. That's so good.
Sorry if I rambled too much.
Oh no, that was perfect. If you're interested in the bug bounty course, there's a link down in the description, so definitely check it out there as well.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate that.
Oh, glad, man. We got a question from Tish Harper. Do you put or do you get an advantage for having both offensive and defensive knowledge while working on bug bounties?
For sure. One of the biggest ways I learn vulnerabilities is by building them, intentionally building vulnerable web applications. That teaches me the most about how things work in the background as well. What I would really recommend is that for the defensive knowledge, don't go too deep into it, because of course you need to know what a WAF is. You need to know how a WAF works, but you don't need to, like, you can set up your own free WAF and all of that stuff. But like, defensive knowledge definitely helps. Just don't go too deep into it. The offensive knowledge is going to help you a lot more. But I think offensive knowledge is, to a degree, defensive knowledge. You can't attack a CSRF token if you don't know what a CSRF token is for. I mean, I can teach you, you can do this and this and this to the CSRF token, but you won't understand what's going on. And the next time you get a small hiccup, you won't be able to deal with it. So definitely.
Yeah, that's good. We got like an influx of questions, so we're kind of burning through them, but I think we got 2 more here. Can you explain the big differences between a responsible disclosure and a bug bounty hunt and bug bounty hunting? This is actually interesting.
Definitely. So there's a few ways to go about if you report your vulnerability, because let's say you find a 0-day in Apple. Apple has a bug bounty program for that. So you can either have your bug bounty program being paid, or you can get points or swag or whatever, Hall of Fame, those kinds of things. And then you have what we call the responsible disclosure programs. Those are just the unpaid bug bounty programs. So that's what that is. But responsible disclosure can also mean that if I find a vulnerability and I give the company reasonable time to fix it, then I'm allowed to disclose it. Debian has one of these responsible disclosure clauses where if you give them reasonable time, you are allowed to disclose vulnerabilities. They're all about security through obscurity does not work. That's their motto. So
yeah, another just excellent answer. And then final question here in the chat that I've cut here is, would you suggest someone going to pen testing or bug bounty hunting? This is interesting.
Start with pen testing and then go deeper into bug bounty hunting, because first of all, you need to have a very basic methodology, and then you can work on from there. But you don't need to go into pen testing too deep. Just make sure that you have basic understanding of all of the vulnerabilities. You can do that outside of pen testing as well, of course. It's not a requirement. But bug bounties, you will not get a stable income with bug bounties. Can guarantee that. There's no way. So if you want a stable income, then go pen testing. Doesn't mean you can't live off of bug bounties. You're just gonna have to budget differently. Not budget like, oh, I get my paycheck next month, but I might get a paycheck in 3 months. So I have to budget carefully so I can bridge the gap until my next big bounty hits.
Yeah, that's such a good one. I don't know how much time you have left, so I don't want to keep you too late. But on specifically on being able to sustainably do, pen testing or bug bounty hunting, whereas with like pen testing, you might have like a salary, which is definitely going to be, probably stable. And then bug bounty, which is like by, the bug, right? what's some advice that you have for people that are wanting to get into bug bounty, like just basic myth busting? Like, you already mentioned that, it's not going to be a full-time gig. Any other kind of, big myths about bug bounty hunting that, new people might have bought into that need to be burst?
Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Gotta love tech.
Well, it's because the answer was going to be so good that the mic was like, I cannot transfer this wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, Mick, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just I'm enjoying the ride here.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
No.
You went away again.
Listen to us Midwesterners just like,
Listen.
We go again.
There we go. There it is.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
No problem. No problem. So myth busting with bug bounty hunting.
So bug bounty hunting is definitely not exploitative of researchers, as some people might claim. I've seen this before where people say, they're exploiting me because they haven't paid me out or anything like that. You're not entering a contract with the company. You're allowed to test your methodology against a target. And just because you can't find anything, it doesn't mean that you're a bad hunter. Get that out of your head, because bad hunters do not exist. They take the time to go look for issues which others would never take the time out of their life for. So you're doing good. Just remember that. But you also have to remember that the target is just secure against your type of attacks. That's something that's very important to remember. You're not the one that's in fault here. You just have to either learn a little bit more, or you have to find a different target, which is a little bit less secure. And if there's anything about your target that you don't like, move on. It's dump that girl like she's nothing. No, seriously though, if you really want to get serious into bug bounties, if there's anything you don't like, you're gonna have to move on, because you don't want to waste any time. You don't have any time. It's very precious, that time, and you want to hunt properly on as much as things as you can. I don't know if any of you guys are fathers or mothers, but having a baby, that eats away at your time a little bit. And not that it's a bad thing, I love it, but the thing is, if you really want to get into bug bounties, you're gonna have to spend hours before you find your first bug. And like I said before, those 35 bugs in 2 months, they might seem impressive, but if you think about how much hours went into what I earned in those months, it's not worth my time. But if it comes to knowledge that I gained, I can't put a price on that. So those are some of my tips for bug bounty beginners. It's a harsh world, but if you persist, you will make it.
And I feel like this kind of circles back to what we were talking about off the top, where you mentioned, you're working like crazy hours, right? Like, and being able to balance everything. Above all, like how are you able to kind of prioritize mental health, and how important is that, whether someone's wanting to get into bounty hunting or pen testing or blue team or whatever, right? How important is that? And even more so when whenever you have a family, whenever you have kids, and more obligations than just work.
Well, every single week I time box in 8 hours where I spend time with my family and nothing but my family. We go to theme parks a lot. You guys should see my wallet. I have subscriptions to like year cards to at least 8 theme parks, and we go every single weekend almost to a new theme park. And well, not to a different one, I mean, but that's how I de-stress. And it might be silly, but I have fireworks here, just some of those little sparklers. My kid loves them, and seeing that smile on her face, that makes me complete again. Like, it's hard getting up at 5 a.m., but I know I'm doing this for her. And if it's not to build like just a trust fund for her, to build something good for her and the company that I'm trying to build, then at least it's something good. And the 90,000 students that I have on Udemy, which I've learned from my courses, hopefully, trying to secure the world one step at a time. And I may not be able to have a big influence on the world, but I don't have to have a big influence. You guys all heard about the butterfly effect, where if you travel back in time and you kill a butterfly, it's gonna be completely. Oh no! If a butterfly flaps its wings somewhere, there's gonna be a tornado somewhere else due to the air current or something like that. It's like these small things can have big effects on you, and that is something that I try to bring into the world as well, like these small things that just advance a little bit. I hope what I really hope is that people learn from my courses and my material quickly and then outgrow me. I want them to outshine me very, very fast. That's why I try to make content accessible as well. A lot of people go about, if you think that you can just learn the technical side of hacking and be okay, you're gonna have a big problem, because you're gonna drown in your own enthusiasm for the field, and before you know it, you're gonna be burned out. I think maybe Makeshift. Have you had a burnout before?
I'm still recovering from it. It's been like 6 months in the making.
Jesus.
Yeah,
I hope you get better soon, my friend. It feels horrible, right?
yeah, it's not a good feeling at all. And I'm sure I've talked about this on one of the other episodes, and I know I've talked to some other people about it. But yeah, it was like, I had taken the SEC Plus, and I was struggling to get through that because I had never taken a CompTIA test before, and kind of, I mean, even in high school, I was that kid that didn't really have to put any studying towards stuff, and I was still an A/B student, so I took that same mindset and applied it to a CompTIA test and found out real quickly, you can't do that. So I had to change things up, and after taking a couple practice tests, I bombed them hard, and it made me sit back and realize, nope, I really have to put my nose to the grindstone and really study hard. And it was I had rescheduled my test another 2 weeks out, and in that 2 weeks, every day for roughly 2 to 3 hours, I was studying, and I eventually ended up passing. But it was like doing that grind every single day, 2 to 3 hours, for me at least, was enough burnout because I was still working full time on that too. So it's like working 8 hours, then coming home, eating something real quick, then studying 2 to 3. And then it's like by then I'm having to go to bed because I have to wake up the next morning. It was a lot. And then it was like 2 months after I had passed, and I kind of was like trying to, regain myself because I had stopped hacking personally. During that time, I was doing really good. I'd done Advent of Cyber and everything for Try Hack Me, and was like, yeah, I'm learning so much. And then I was like, let me study for SEC Plus, and I dropped all of it. And yeah, it was it's still a little bit of a grind. I'm still trying to get some time worked into starting to hack again and start learning and studying more again. But yeah, I'm still kind of in this weird mindset of like, I just don't know if I'm ready yet. But I've been told I need to just jump in and quit being a little baby about it.
Yeah, but you also need to be careful though, because a lot of people say that, but what they don't realize is that there's so much study material out there that you can, before you know it, you're drowning again, because there's just so much things out there to learn. And I always tell people, if you want to get into hacking, first of all, you're gonna have to do this, like get a broad overview of what's out there. Then you're gonna have to laser focus on all of the resources that you need, because there's just so much stuff out there, and it's really hard to find the things that are credible, that are good. Because if you look for things, you're looking for things that are good at SEO. You're not looking at things that are technically adept. things that are SEO compliant, those are going to be high ranked. So it's hard to get through all of that. And all of the courses as well, like people have been asking me, are you going to take the Pen to 200 test? Are you going to take the web test from OffSec? Are you going to take that certificate? I'm like, no, guys, I have a kid. Calm down. Chill, bro.
You said SEO and I like cringed for a second because I was like, oh God, yeah.
I saw him tighten up. He's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Whoa, that was scary. That was like a chill went down my spine, and I was immediately scared that something that I had made something SEO compliant. I was like, oh yeah, no, the quality's dropping. I'm gonna crush this. It's gonna be terrible. How do you guys? And I feel like you kind of mentioned this, phrase like "don't be a baby," and I feel like my inner critic is like a punk, right? Like I have like such a rough and mean inner critic that it's legit. Like, I'll constantly be telling myself like, don't be a baby, just freaking do it. And then I'll get like some feedback from somebody else and it's like, it's good feedback. And it's also like pretty like well delivered, but it's like, I've already told myself the same thing like 15 times, like already, but like in a much harsher tone. So it's like, it just kind of like, it can be hard on occasion, especially whenever you're struggling mentally to kind of get through something, right? So, how important is it to balance, kind of, having tough skin, because that's part of it, but also, having that balance with, but there's time that you need to just take some time, you really, you blitzed for a long time and you need some time for yourself. Cause I mean, the job, the 9 to 5, that's going, that's rolling whether or not you're burnt out. But the time between the 9 to 5, that's really up to you. How do you balance that out?
That's a great question. That's first of all, I just wanted to touch on this real quickly. If I'm telling myself something 15 times, I haven't understood the message. Then I'm gonna have to. Then I have to hear it
I'm not
again.
good. I'm not smart sometimes. So,
I feel you though. I have the same thing often, and my worst critics often become my best friends. The people I hate most in the beginning when I meet them are people who are like me, people who touch on my pain points. I hate those people in the beginning, but then I get to know them better and I learn what pain points they're touching on, and that improves me as well. So I like hanging out with them because they make me the better person that I am. And if anybody has some constructive feedback, feel free to throw it at me. I mean, I'm always open for it. And maybe if I have heard it 50 times, maybe it'll get through me the 51st time, because it definitely didn't get through me the first 50 times. So I will need to hear it again. My 9 to 5, between my 9 to 5, like you mean my time, right? Like my chill time. I don't really have chill time. My work is my chill. I've always, since a kid on, I think it's been my ADHD or my autism. I get interested in something and I lose interest in really quickly. Like Dark Souls, I've played that hundreds of hours over the course of a few months. Then I dropped it completely, and then now I'm not gaming anymore. Well, I'm still paying $10 a month for a freaking RuneScape subscription I don't even use. It's like, come on, dude, what am I doing? So yeah, it's like, and maybe it's like the stupid thing as well is just drone flying. I love flying my drone. I don't know why. I don't even take pictures or anything. Well, I do. If my dad is a construction worker, so if he makes a house, it's good to take a picture with the drone. But just it's not an expensive one either. It was $100 Trello drone or Tello drone or something like that. It's using software by DJI but hardware by Tello, so it's pretty good at flying stable. It's pretty good at flying fast as well. It's cell phone controlled, but it has I bought like a joystick for it, like a real joystick, so I have like an actual flying thingy. And that's something that I think is very important, is that you need to find that one thing that relaxes you, that you really enjoy. and the stupidest things can entertain me, but it's all comes down to doing everything in small pieces as well. Like, not, I can binge watch a series on Netflix and be sick of it by the end of it, or I can watch it every single night an episode and I will love it. um, it's like these kind of changes that I made in my personal life, which have given me a lot more enjoyment out of my own personal time as well. The time where I can do what I want. Like, I love Halloween, for example, and I'm already planning what I'm going to do next year for Halloween. I know it's just been over, but like right here, I still have the Halloween decorations. Ooh, like a giant freaking spider. Whoa. Sorry.
Camera down, camera down.
Camera
The
down.
spider's attacking. No.
Oh no. And the ghost
He's
as
gonna show us
well. So anyway, yeah, it's like just find yourself some of those things that you really enjoy doing. By the way, that's my certificate up there with the CP.
Flex.
one day.
Sorry. So yeah, it's like those kind of things that you really just should do for yourself and enjoy, and just find something that you want to do and make sure that you time box it as well. If you time box everything, then time box some relaxment into your life, for freak's sake.
I like that. Time box everything. I feel like that's something I'm gonna have to do. You know, just kind of
Yeah.
like block it all. And I feel like for the most part, I might be doing that without actually realizing that that's what I'm doing. But
Make
like,
it
I don't have
fluent.
like a running calendar that I sit down and look at. It's just like a general, like, I'm a very like routine based guy. You know, like
Yeah.
like there's like a set, like a time like my. I mean, I'm basically time boxing. What am I talking about?
Like, I feel you though, because like for me, I make my time boxes very fluent. Like, I say 8 hours, but it might be 7 one week, 6 the other, like 10 the other. It really depends. With Halloween, we went from maybe 4 p.m. until 10, 11 p.m. to the parks with the kids. You freaking love doing that stuff. So it can really depend on what season it is, what time of year it is. Sage knows IT says they like archery, for example. I freaking love archery, but I have to do it outside, and of course I have to do it outside. I'm not gonna freaking shoot the inside of my house with a baby inside of it, but yeah, I don't have a very big courtyard. It's like you can take 5 steps and then you're at the wall. So I do that at my parents' house. It's all very seasonal. All of that stuff for me as well. Like right now, it's winter. It's dark, so I will be doing a lot more hacking. I will be working a lot more on my courses, and then in the summer, like from the profit of my courses, I will pay whatever I have to pay for my company, all of the taxes, sales tax, blah blah blah, and the rest I'm putting away to grow the company. And since it's my company is like not a full company, but a company, a side company, I can actually take out money as I wish. So sometimes I'll buy things like the theme park year cards, which we'll have a lot of fun with, this kind of things. And maybe one last thing, if you do get that bounty, remember to treat yourself at least a little bit. You can save your money, of course, but like use $50 and get yourself something nice.
No, I actually really like that because I do that, even now, like I'll go and I'll buy something, and it might be every paycheck, but I'm and it's not like something like super, where I'm dropping, $400 on something crazy. But even if it's like you said, like $50 here, $50 there, because I always look at it, and I forget who had said this, but it's like, don't look at it as, oh, I'm dropping, $30 on this thing. Look at it as that was an hour of me working. Like I worked an hour. I worked my butt off for an hour to earn this this $30 or whatever to put towards this. If I spend, like I just recently bought a bunch of furniture, and obviously it was something I needed, but it was like that was me working like an entire month's worth to be able to afford that furniture, you know? So yeah, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get something that, you know, maybe is a little bit nicer than what somebody, you know, would have otherwise recommended me getting. It's like, well, okay, if I worked hard enough for it, I'm going to make sure I treat myself. And I think that's beneficial that you need to do too, even when you're studying, because instead of going like, oh, well, I'm going to study for 2 or 3 months and then I'm going to pass this cert and then I'm going to treat myself. No, like maybe treat yourself a little bit on the way to getting that certification or on the way to passing that class or doing whatever. Because I think if you take the overall goal and you break it up into smaller chunks and you reward yourself after those, you know, something small, but enough that you consider it a reward and you're able to continue going. I think it helps mentally do that. I've always told people, like, because I used to be really big into weightlifting and fitness, and I would always tell people, like, if you're trying to lose weight, don't just set your mind up and go, okay, I'm gonna lose 150 pounds and have this particular day that I'm gonna do it in or whatever, you know. And it's a logical date to set it at or whatever, but it's like, okay, 150 is your main goal. Let's do it in like 15 or 20 or 25 pound chunks where, okay, when you lose 25 pounds, okay, now you can go and maybe get something that you've been wanting or, you know, eat something that you've been looking forward to eating, you know, just breaking it up into smaller chunks. I think it's a little bit more manageable, and I think it helps you overall mentally because you're not focused on this huge thing. You're focused on these smaller, more obtainable goals.
Speaking of health and fitness, I like to reward myself with food.
I do that every day. I just had mac and cheese for dinner.
Oh, shut up. Oh my God. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It's 2:30 a.m. Where am I going to find the Domino's open? That's not going. Well,
Uh-oh, it's chaos ensues again.
yes.
The spider is still attacking you.
I can. Help. Anyway.
We'll go ahead and close this down. Rat, thank you so much for jumping on. This has just been, I mean, I feel like we've talked about the universe. We've talked about so much stuff. And I really hope that this has been helpful for everybody that's been watching. So,
thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining. You're amazing hackers. And I mean it when I say it. I definitely do.
Hey, and you know, if you're watching and you want to see more of the TheXSSRat, which you absolutely should, again, there's a link to his YouTube channel and there's a link to his bug bounty hunting course in the video description. So absolutely check those out. Cannot recommend them more. So good. And then Makeshift, you can catch him on the Republic of Hackers Discord. They dance there. And then me, well, you already know where to find me, but you probably don't want to see more of me because I'm ugly. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you, gentlemen. I will catch you here in just a moment. So if you don't mind staying in the back.
Peace, everybody.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining. Next week, we have another show. But before then, of course, is Thanksgiving week. So, you know, if you're here in the US, or I think Canada also celebrates that too. So have a great week. You know, enjoy some time with your family. Stay safe. And we will see you all next week.